Okay, my name is Suraj. I'm a senior lecturer with the Department of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering. Some of you might have met me during open house, as well as we had the session last week as well with the head of department. So for today's session, we are basically going to get some insights from our alumni. And the key thing is you will get to hear about the real world experiences and what are some of the diverse career paths that our graduates pursue. So there's this, it's not just chemical engineering, it's not just about oil and gas. So you see that chemical engineers work in a diverse range of sectors, starting from pharmaceuticals, semiconductor, energy, food and consumer goods, just to name a few, and even finance. Now, what we are going to do today is we have three of our alumni here to share about their experiences after graduating from this department. And then, of course, we will also have a Q&A session after that. So first thing what I'll do is now we have the chairperson of the Department Alumni Committee. That's Miss Sam Kunshan. In fact, she is right at the center of this photo here, wearing the green coat. So this was actually an alumni gathering with it was a fireside chat with the head of department that we had last year. So this photo is from there. So what Ms. Sam Kunshan will do is she will just share about herself as well as about the committee. What do we do? What do the alumni committee do? And then after that, we will have the three speakers. One of them will also be Ms. Sam Kunshan. So over to Ms. Sam Kunshan. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Suresh. Good evening, everyone. It is both an honor and a privilege to be here today as the president of the NUS Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering Alumni Committee. And like many of you, my journey is taking me through a very fulfilling career began right here. So the Alumni Committee is glad to support the Department of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering in this alumni dialogue session. So being here today with the fellow alumni speakers, who is also part of the Alumni Committee, makes me reminisce about the university days, and at the same time, we would love to bridge the gap between yourselves, the existing students, and us as alumni to foster a network that will support and inspire future students. It is also the Alumni Committee's mission for alumni to support students in professional growth and personal development. So this evening, we aim to share valuable career experiences, provide insights, and offer guidance to help you navigate the diverse pathways that a degree in chemical and biomolecular engineering can lead you to. You'll hear about the stories of challenges faced, obstacles we overcame, and successes that were achieved along the way. So these represent just a fraction of the potential career paths you could pursue. We'll encourage you to ask as many questions as you may have and imagine how you can apply these lessons to your own career aspirations. We would love to get to know you better over the next 1 hour or so too, and hearing about your motivations and interest in chemical engineering and academic life, and the questions you may have for us, which might help to quench your curiosities about life after graduation, potential career pathways, and so on. So to make this session more interactive, we will invite you to turn on your video so that we can personally address your questions later on. So I'll now hand over the session to Akib, who will share about his experience first for a start, and then after that followed by Larry and then myself. So hope you'll enjoy the session.
Hi, let me get started, I guess. So looking forward to, thank you so much for joining in, of course, on a Friday evening. But like first and foremost, right? So at least in my job itself, right? So we don't have Friday evenings or any evenings, right? So it's all so varied now, especially working in a consulting field, right? So as you may read, Akib Alvi, I graduated from NUS Chemical Engineering in 2013. And since then, I've taken a very, very different pathway, at least, right? At least from what I joined chemical engineering for. So I was just like you, I'm from Pakistan. So first time exiting the country, seeing this new beautiful country, coming to NUS, top 3 in the world at that time in chemical engineering. and was like, wow, this is amazing. I'm going to get a job in oil and gas, and be this massive person in that sphere, right? So similarly, but then once you become part of it, right? So you start understanding that there is so much more beyond than petrochemical itself, right? Than oil and gas itself. And as Dr. Suraj has already mentioned a few different careers, right? So I went into the very separate ed tech kind of environment altogether. And that kind of potentially was mostly because like I was trying to get some part-time earning, and then I got into this education startup itself, working with them to create after-school activities. So I was working with 4-year-olds all the way to 18-year-olds audiences, working with primary school students as my go-to job itself, right? And it was very interesting and exciting. And then yes, the question was like, hey, what does this have to do with chemical engineering? Right. So I wouldn't put it too much on chemical engineering, at least as a starting bit. It's mostly engineering, right? So we as engineers, we understand processes, understand systems, we understand how to break things up, right? And that kind of led me towards like really understanding any particular problem. And thankfully, engineering really teaches us how to break down big, complicated problems into small segments and then work through it. And then that's where chemical engineering comes in even further, where we are really doing a deep dive into the molecular aspects of it, working on your chemistry modules in terms of your tiny processes that can be connected to so many different processes altogether. Having a big oil machinery refinery that we need to set up as part of our FYPs and whatnot, right? So all of that kind of brings us together in terms of what any career wants, to be honest. And I work in AI skilling, metaverse skilling right now, data side of things right now, especially as my main role. But of course, in terms of sustainability, I mean, sustainability is beyond climate as well, right? Like sustainability has 17 sustainable development goals, education being sustainable development goal 4. I'm very much passionate about education and skilling, making sure people have the right skill sets. And we know AI, and we are doing that now with metaverse now and AI now and data side now. These are all core components of skill sets that even chemical engineers of today need. Pharmaceutical scientists need today, right? And then beyond that, of course, beyond the skilling part of it, of course, there's so much energy part of it that we work on. We work on climate adaptation strategies. We work on a lot of different, how can you do your carbon crediting scheme appropriately as well? How can you lower your carbon emissions as well? All of this is in essence connected back to all the way to where your chemical engineering comes from, right? So you do see all these connections happening. Of course, I wouldn't say it's a hardcore chemical engineering job per se, but there is so much connection to my daily work that I need to kind of go back to my chemical engineering, open up some of the topics that we had. What do those mean when we're talking to different clients? Because our clients are chemical engineers. Our clients are PhDs who have been doing these amazing startups for 10 years altogether now, and they're coming to us like, okay, how do we organize stuff now? And that's where consulting essentially happens, right? We look at it from an outside perspective and look at it, okay, who do we need? What do we need to make it happen, right? And that's where all the expertise kind of come together with beyond AI and metaverse, but beyond like putting things together and really looking at it from an outside perspective and seeing like, okay, how can we actually make a system that works? Right? And we provide that kind of consulting services to a lot of our partners. So we run sustainability as a service model as part of my job, Sustainable Living Lab. Happy to connect on LinkedIn and of course in the Q&A as well to talk more about it as well, right? But then the point is like, okay, how do we make the world more sustainable? And to be honest, if you look at it at its core, everything is derived from chemical engineering. Like you need your materials to be properly done, right? You need to make sure you are accessing the raw materials appropriately. Then you are making sure that you are fine tuning them appropriately, putting them together properly. Then basically doing the transportation appropriately. In any segment that you look at, there's a big component of chemical engineering involved, and that's where I shone in my SFA, because that's like whichever process you pick up, some of those components are so much critical, and those components revolve around chemistry and chemical engineering altogether, and not just engineering in general, but chemical engineering very specifically, right? And we want to look for a sustainable world, and sustainability 2030 targets every country has put in now, right? So we are at the forefront of where we are at, right? I haven't been so much connected to NUS as well. I'm not sure how many sustainability related topics are there now, but we see working with so many partners all around the world, that they have sustainability, specific sustainability related topics in these specific domains itself, right? Whether you're doing pharma science as your specialization or your material science as specialization, right? Sustainability becomes part of it. And beyond that, where I am more focused on currently now is like, you need AI skilling as well, right? AI is going to be your new internet, just like how we can't survive without internet. I mean, we already can't survive without AI in our Google Maps, in our Zoom meetings, in our audio, video, backgrounds, whatever you may have, right? So we work on those aspects of it to make sure like we are ready for the future world. And we love to connect all to make sure we are having sustainable solutions for the modern world, right? We need those. We know we only have one planet, sadly, right? Planet Earth. So let's work on this planet before we start venturing it out. And of course, even if we venture out, right? Who's to say we're gonna keep those planets sustainable, right? So it only starts from here, starts from within. So I think again, yeah, lots to share, of course, in terms of where my journey took me, how it took me, and all. I've shared a quick overview of it. But looking forward to having more question answers. Please write them in the chat. Again, I would love to see your faces as well, who you are, and connect with you more personally, so that I'm not talking to these icons on my screen, but to real people. I think that would be more interesting to see. Right. I'll pass my time to Mr. Larry.
Okay, thanks, Akib. Yeah, so good evening, everyone. So thanks for spending the next 15 minutes or spending the whole 1 hour with us on a Friday night. We know there could be more interesting places to go to, but we are glad you're here. Right? So my name is Larry, and I'm in my 40th year of experience in the oil and chemical industry. Don't do the maths. I should be retired by now, but surprisingly, I'm not, right? So for whatever reason. So my career, unlike Akib, is more traditional. So even before I graduated from NUS, I was offered a job by then Mobil Oil Singapore. So after graduation, shortly after that, I joined the company. So I started off my career in the traditional sense of a chemical engineer, where I did process engineering, I did technical advisory work, and then I went in the plant. So I was actually in the refinery at a point in time. And then after that, I was sent across to the US for a stint in New Jersey for about 18 months, where I did catalytic research. Quite similar to what the chemical engineering students would do in the laboratory, because we're then getting ready to implement new types of catalysis in the refinery over in Singapore. I came back, and then after that, I moved across into the commercial function within Mobil, where I did with movements of cargoes as part of the overall trading portfolio. Then I traded fuels for a while, and then after that, I moved across into one of their chemical plants, a joint venture chemical plant. And then by then the company became one. So Mobil became ExxonMobil. And then after that, I was leading the commercial and distribution team for the aromatics company. And then I moved across and did sales and marketing for olefins in Asia Pacific for their steam cracker plant. After about 15 years in ExxonMobil, I decided to leave because I was bitten by the trading bug. So I joined the oil trading for 4 years, and then I moved on and I moved bulk petrochemicals for another 4 years. And by that time, I decided to step away from trading, and then I wanted to be able to be in the industry, to look at the industry from a more strategic perspective. And then I think it's all part of the life cycle. When you're young, you want to get into all this very hectic, very happening industries, and it was great. I mean, the pace was great. Certainly, the compensations were great. But as one reaches a certain age, then one takes a back seat, and you really want to be able to focus on a more strategic level. So I became a chemicals consultant with a company then called IHS Markit, a US-based company. So I was in that role in the single client chemicals consulting space for about 9 years before it was merged with S&P, the company that I'm currently in. S&P, as some of you would know, publishes the S&P 500 index. So I spent about 2 years in S&P, leading the chemicals insights team in the Asia Pacific region. Yeah. So that's who I am. So I think one of the things which Prof. Suraj wanted us to talk about was whether the chemical engineering degree has relevance to the work that we do. In my case, it's so clear cut. It obviously has, right? Because I graduated chemical engineering. The first job I had was climb the distillation columns, get involved in refinery turnarounds and all that, right? So, but more than that, what was interesting was, when I moved into the commercial world, subsequently when I was training as an independent for oil, and we were very involved in oil blending and all that. So you would think that in a commercial world, you deal with dollars and cents, you deal with invoices, you deal with payments and all that, which is all very true. But what was interesting was at that point in time, the industry was looking at lowering the sulfur limits for fuels. And at a point in time, before the world of decarbonization started to kick in a large way as it is now, at that point in time, the industry recognized that having sulfur in fuel wasn't great. We wanted to reduce the sulfur levels, and any refinery can easily blend high sulfur fuel to low sulfur fuel. But if one does not have tanks, one does not have access to inventories or low sulfur components, then how do we go about doing it, right? And of course, you can take up independent storage. It's going to cost a lot of money. So where I was coming from was that this independent Swiss-based oil trading company says, well, what about if we do the blending on the ship, right? So to do that, I mean, it's quite a breakthrough thought process at that point in time. But to do that, one needs to know how much to blend, what are the blending correlations like, right? So my boss, who is this old Joe, in the chemical firm, says, hey, young guy, you graduated from NUS, right? You ought to be able to come up with some correlations, right? So for us to facilitate this blending. So where I was coming from is that how relevant the chemical engineering training was, even at that point in time. So, and that was during that period, internet wasn't that broadly used, So I had to go back to the chemical engineering library, dig up all the correlations, write my equations on I think it was on like the rudimentary Excel programs that were coming up at that point in time, right? So I actually wrote all the correlations, not just the linear ones. The linear ones are easy. Anybody can do that. It's the non-linear equations that requires correlations, making sure that there's sufficient confidence in those correlations, because you're actually this is not theory, you're actually gonna blend in the real world, and if you get it wrong, that is a commercial disaster, right? So how relevant that chemical engineering degree is. One last point before I hand it across back to I think back to Kunshan, or is it Q&A, right? So one last point is, even in up to recent times when we are talking about chemical plants and how because of competition and because of decarbonization, people wanted to switch from liquids feedstocks across into light feedstocks. And then a question was asked at a major conference, and somebody asked, well, what's stopping the whole industry from just switching across into light feedstocks? And then at a single blow, we kind of decarbonize in a significant way, right? So, and the question kind of simmered with the crowd for a while. And then I just thought back and says, well, I don't think that is hydraulically possible. I actually use those phrases. And then somebody asked, well, what exactly do you mean, right? I says, well, distillation columns are designed for a certain vapor load as part of your distillation process, right? If that column is designed for a certain specific gravity of liquids cracking, right, and suddenly you switch it on to vapor, what's going to happen is that huge vapor traffic is just going to dislodge all your distillation columns, all the trays, right? And then your whole column, it becomes non-functioning. So it's not hydraulically possible. And not only that, your wet gas compressor, it's used to a certain vapor liquid interface, right? A certain equilibrium. Suddenly you don't have a lot of liquid and you got lots of gas. The compressor is not going to work for what it's designed to do, right? So again, even 30 plus years after I graduated, fundamentals like that stayed in the mind. I was able to answer those questions. Where my concluding remark is that the hydrocarbon industry has changed significantly. Now you hear all things sustainability, recycling of plastics and all that, which is all very true. But before any of you go away thinking that we are seeing the demise of the oil industry, we are seeing the demise of the chemical industry, right? So banish the thought. The industry, unfortunately, don't have sufficient substitute products to power your transportation fuels, And while people are talking about a peak oil demand sometime in the middle of the next decade, there is no peak chemical demand. There is no peak plastics demand, because so long as the GPs of the world continue to grow, your demand for durables and non-durable goods or chemical goods will continue to grow. And that's our outlook, that this industry will continue to grow. True, we need to be able to harness chemistry, not to allow the emissions to continue unabated. We need to be more responsible in how we dispose of plastics, or better still, recycle the plastics back to its virgin material, where we can use for reprocessing. So it is an exciting time. A lot of challenges, but the engineering degree will position you to be able to take on those challenges. With that, I pass it across to Kunshan.
Thanks, Larry. Yep. So, yes, so I graduated in 2007 from chemical engineering. And since then, my first job was actually in a semiconductor industry, because I chose to specialize in microelectronics last time. Not sure whether there's still this specialization now. But after that, I realized that I wasn't cut out to, or process engineering wasn't my passion. So I actually then started to explore other career options, and then I decided to at the same time further my knowledge of the industry and do a broader master's. So I did environmental master's also with NUS, and then that actually helped me to get a job in the Energy Market Authority, where then I had a chance to first step into the world of clean energy. That was back in 2009, when it was still very new. So it was the first time I actually did clean energy related work, and my project then was looking at setting up Pulau Ubin microgrid test bed. So that's to provide the residents on the island with clean electricity, because Pulau Ubin isn't connected to the main grid. So that project was first started in 2009 and is still around today. So it's something that I'm very happy about. So that actually fueled my interest in the clean energy sector, so much so that I decided to further my knowledge in this field, and then pursue further studies. And after that, I then looked into various parts of the energy sector, looking at LNG, which is liquefied natural gas, also with the Energy Market Authority, and handling policies and infrastructure. So even though I wasn't really doing engineering work, I enjoy the big picture work and the qualitative aspects, like policy making and being part of something impactful in driving Singapore's energy needs. So I felt that that was actually a very meaningful role, and I was with the EMA for 5 years. And then thereafter, I then joined a consultancy for a very short while, DMVGL. So that was to explore or try out my technical skills in consulting, because I felt that I wanted to deepen my my knowledge and apply what I've studied, in chemical engineering to the more project side of things. So rather than just doing the policy work, the project management work, I wanted to go a bit deeper. So I joined the consultancy side for a while, and then and then I think there were industry I think back then the sector wasn't doing so well, so there weren't many energy or oil and gas projects. because I was looking at like gas transmission pipelines. So yeah, it was a bit yeah, because of that, I think it was a bit loud, and then I felt that maybe it's not the best time to be in consulting. So I came across a role at then it was called IE Singapore, so now it's Enterprise Singapore, and I was working with them last time in assessing a trading hub, like setting up a LNG trading hub in Singapore and looking at what are the challenges and opportunities. So that team at Enterprise Singapore actually had a job opening. So then I applied to it, and it was quite a meaningful role as well. So at Enterprise Singapore, I was part of the energy and chemicals team under trade group, where I had a chance to work with oil and gas majors like Shell, Chevron, BASF, and so on, to grow their business in Singapore. So as a government agency, I was responsible for increasing the economic value add of these companies to Singapore. So imagine negotiating with the senior management of oil and gas companies like Shell and so on, to get them to invest more in Singapore, get them to hire more trading professionals, and expand the hiring needs. So I felt that was very fulfilling, because you can see the contribution directly to Singapore's economy. And yeah, and it makes a difference in what I can do. And I felt that even though it's not an engineering role still, but as a chemical engineer, being able to appreciate and make use of the knowledge that I've acquired in NUS to speak to these senior leaders is actually very helpful. So after being in Enterprise Singapore for another 5 years, I then chanced upon a role with the private sector called Sun Cable. So it's actually an Australian firm looking to export solar power from Australia to Singapore through a 4,000-kilometer long undersea cable. So there I was heading up sustainability and regulatory affairs, and it was making use of the skills and network that I gained having served for 10 years with the public sector, having worked on different projects and interfacing with different government agencies in the energy sector. So that really helped me to secure a job with Sun Cable and contribute in terms of building up their presence in Singapore, because it was a new entity and it was a job that required me to interface with the government agencies to gain traction for the project and to gain their confidence that the project is going to take off. So after that, I was there for 2 years, and last year I came across this role at Mott MacDonald about 6 months ago. So so I joined Mott MacDonald, and I'm currently in the sustainability field as the portfolio director. Mott MacDonald is a UK headquartered engineering and infrastructure consultancy firm focusing on so I'm focusing on business development in the field of net zero, sustainability, and ESG. So we serve our clients across various sectors in energy, transport, built environment, and water. So my portfolio is actually a horizontal, because decarbonization is a need for all these sectors as we mitigate climate change. So I feel that during my time at NUS, it is actually something that the skills and the knowledge acquired is something that I never knew would bring me along so far on a journey in the energy sector. And even to date, I feel that the skills and knowledge that I've acquired is actually very valuable. Yes. So yeah, so thanks for listening, and I welcome any questions that you may have.
Oh, that was indeed very interesting sharing. So basically, you see that our graduates have gone through diverse career trajectories. And we have like someone like Mr. Larry Tan, who has like nearly 40 years of experience, and Ms. Sam Kunshan with nearly 20, and then Mr. Akib Alvi with around 10 plus years. But one common theme that you saw was they still use the knowledge and skills that they learned during their times in NUS. And also something that we got to see is the diverse opportunities that exist for our graduates, not just upon graduation, but also subsequently in their careers. So now the floor is open. You can use the Q&A function I'm sure you have a lot of questions. So probably you can use that. And of course, as Mr. Akib has been saying, I think it would be good if you can show your faces and then unmute and ask the questions instead of typing it. Yeah. Maybe I think I will stop sharing the screen so I can
Good
the
idea.
screen here. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we have one. Okay, Park Gun Woo, Gun Woo. Yeah, Park Gun Woo.
Hi, good
Hi.
evening,
Hi.
alumni.
Oh,
Hi,
nice
good
to see
evening.
you. Yeah,
Sorry for doing this on an MRT station, but
no problem.
my
No
question to
worries.
you,
It's so
my
nice
question to
that you
you,
have joined in from there.
anyways, my question to you guys is that I understand, in our current very culture of work, right? There's a lot of emphasis on bettering yourself and studying more, further studying, right? To basically improve your career or whatsoever. So I'm just curious, how important is sustainability and studying about sustainability helping for our career, career growth? Thank
That's
you.
a great question. So probably let's get Mr. Akib.
Anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll quickly share, on the skilling part of it, right? So I'm working in an AI field now, and chemical engineering, for a very strange reason, we don't study programming at all, right? So which was strange to me because all other engineering fields you do study Python. So we do MATLAB, at least in my time. I don't know what's happening now.
No,
but
now they actually learn programming as well.
Oh, super!
Python
Finally,
as well. Yeah,
finally.
yeah.
That's great. But then I didn't study that, right? And then I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I know MATLAB, but it kind of works. But then now, like in an AI field, you need to study, right? And that's where, at least from the education aspect and the career, right, learning never stops, no matter where you are, right? So I think we have gone past that stages where you're like, okay, you do your 10th grade, you're good. You do your O levels, you're good. A levels, you're good. University, you're good. No, and we use that in our term as well in my slide decks when we are working with governments. It's a work, learn, work model. So you go to work, learn something, come back to work again, learn something, come back to work. So you keep on doing that because the world revolves around, right? So the world is not going to stop for you, right? AI is changing every month. So we work on AI and then we have to upskill every day, to be honest, to keep track of what's happening, keep upgrading, upskilling ourselves on just on AI, this particular skill set, right? Which we assume it's here, but no, it's changing. Gen AI and everything is just crazy great as well. But that's where we are at. Like we need to keep on upskilling ourselves every part of the way. Sustainability again, right? So I think we all know the world, we have gone past those stages where we could start fixing it, right? And that's where we, especially as Sustainable Living Lab, my company, right? So we have taken a stance of adaptation rather than mitigation, right? So we've worked very hard on mitigating it, doing all sorts of steps to make things work. But I don't know, we as humans are probably bad at it. So now the goal is, okay, how do we start living with it, right? And to live it in such a way that, okay, we don't start creating more mess down the line. So we work on a lot of climate adaptation strategies now, and that's where our focus is on sustainability angle as well. Like, how do we use sustainable solutions to adapt to current world? Like these fires are going to happen. The world is going to get warmer. Flooding, typhoons are always going to keep coming in. There's no quick fix solution to that. But how do we create systems that allow us to be ready for those? They are going to come in, but we are better ready, better prepared for it. Just quick example on that one. So a factory, so when you establish a factory, right, and it could be a chemical plant, which generally is in a village, right? So the villagers are the workforce for that particular factory, right? And if that factory, because of typhoon or flood, is wiped out, broken because of earthquake or whatever, right? There's no workforce for you because the village is also like broken up then. So how do we make sure like it both works together? And that's where sustainable finance comes into play. Like you don't want an insurance. The factory worker is like, okay, I do get insurance back, but then he doesn't get the entire factory back. The setting up a factory itself takes ages to get it approved, get everything ready, and then workforce training itself takes time. So if I create a factory which is adopting to these changes, to these climatic changes, I keep my factory, I keep my workforce, and I keep it functioning and running as well. So which is much more suitable for me versus, okay, it goes away and I can get this insurance from it. Right? So we are working on sustainable finance solutions over that. And that's where new ideas, new inventions, innovations are coming into play as well, because your regular, as Mr. Larry was sharing as well, right? Your current equipment may not survive for whatever new stuff it does happen. So you need to adopt, and again, that's where our, I think, chemical mindset also comes into play. Like we are thinking on elements that a mechanical engineer won't think through as much. They will think on mechanical aspect, but we'll be thinking, no, but you can change the model, change the gears to certain material. But what would be the chemicals present in it? What would be the material within it itself? So all of those kind of puts us through. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm also keen to add, right, that because sustainability is something very broad. So like there are different aspects to it and different parts of the value chain and things like that. So like Akid was like what Akid was sharing, there are a lot of solution providers. So you can look at it from the solution providers angle. Or if not, like sustainability at its core is really about what does it mean to us. So maybe to the financial sector, it's about meeting ESG goals, making sure that that investment is aligned with SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and making sure that they're whatever they lend to, they are not like supporting maybe the coal-fired power plants and things like that. So, but for us as chemical engineers, I think a lot of sustainability is about mitigating climate change, making sure that we contribute to the emissions reduction, and how do we actually go about doing that? And for myself, what I feel is that a lot of it comes from energy, and energy has a big role to play, like be it mitigating emissions from the usual fossil fuel power plants, or be it looking at low carbon solutions, which, for example, green hydrogen is being looked at right now, ammonia fired power plants, or carbon capture and storage, or even nuclear. So I guess my thinking is that as a chemical engineer, probably my traditional way of thinking would be tapping more into our core skill sets and then building up what we can actually contribute in this field, and then deciding on how we wanna branch off from there. Cause once we have a depth of knowledge in one area, then it's easier as we progress to move into different parts of the value chain.
Yeah, just to add on my take to answer your question. Sustainability is very important. It's just not a buzzword. And I'll give you a very concrete example of what's happening over in Singapore. Firstly, having sustainable operations is showing that you're able to recycle material waste, such that you can convert it across into useful feedstocks. I think shareholders and society demands that of companies and individuals in those plants. So it's not just a buzzword. And this concrete example I'm going to share with you is what you can already read in the newspaper. So I'm not divulging anything that's confidential. You would have read about Shell Oil and the chemical company in Singapore, Pulau Bukom, is looking to sell their entire asset. Right? So that is a rather earth-shaking development for the Singapore oil and chemical industry. So you might ask yourself, why Shell being literally the pioneer oil refinery in Singapore, built in the early 1960s, why are they even thinking of exiting this industry? So one of many reasons, right? One of them is this thing about decarbonization, right? It's a very old asset. So Shell would have to spend a lot of money if they want to go into investments into an old asset, as compared to investing in assets in the US where they have a new steam cracker plant over in Pennsylvania, right? And you might have heard of the Inflation Reduction Act in the US, where the US government incentivizes industries, just like what EDB does over here, incentivize industries in the US to firstly to bring manufacturing back to the US, and more importantly, to invest in sustainable operations. So Shell shareholders, when they look at this and says, well, if I'm going to spend $30 billion, right, on decarbonization globally, where do I spend it on, right? So, and they obviously opted for a plan which is brand new, where it has tax incentives. But my point being, sustainability is very important to the point where it can potentially cause shutdown of assets which are not good or not prime for sustainable operations. And to your earlier question is about continuous learning. I think there's no two ways about it. As I always tell my younger team members, when you reach a point where your learning curve is flat, you better start looking for another department within the company. Or I hate to say it, if the company is not able to offer you new learning opportunities, it's time to look outside, because you don't want to stagnate in your learning process. Even after 40 years, I'm still learning, Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So just to add from the perspective of the program as well, the program has evolved a lot over the years. So now, given the increasing emphasis of sustainability, AI, machine learning, so what happens is so I'm sure the prospective students would have checked out our curriculum. So basically, our courses like sustainable futures, artificial intelligence, all these are part of our pillars now, university-wide pillars, which give you interdisciplinary skills. And within the chemical engineering program itself, sustainability is embedded in some of our core courses, and most importantly in the design project, where as you design, you also have to evaluate it in terms of various sustainability metrics. So so that's something which is the program itself will train you, and same goes for programming. Yeah. So we still learn MATLAB, which Mr. Akib mentioned. Yeah, because that is one of the more important programs that helps us with first principles modeling of chemical processes. But then you also learn Python right in year one, and that's something which will be very valuable for you when you join the workforce. Okay, so that's something which I just wanted to add from the program development, how it has evolved over the years. So now there's a question, may I know what is the job scope if I were to specialize in biopharmaceuticals engineering? So that's something which a lot of our graduates go into as well. So from what I know, a lot of our graduates work as process engineers, because ultimately it's also a process. So wherever there's a process, chemical engineers are in demand. So in biopharmaceutical engineering, basically a lot of our engineers work as process, a lot of our graduates work as process engineers, handling the process, operating it. So mainly that will be the kind of role. Yeah, but let's ask from the industry experts on their insights. So yeah.
I think Miss Coco Wong wants to answer this question.
I think she marked it as we will answer it.
Oh, we will answer
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Well, I think as you rightly pointed out, it's still a process. The only thing is that pharmaceuticals, and I'm not for the pharmaceutical industry, so if I say something wrong, it's not my fault, right?
Yeah.
So pharmaceuticals were products made from chemicals in the past, but now you've got biopharmaceutical, and
Yes.
the bio sector, is coming into the fore now, where it's not just used for pharmaceuticals, it's even used for transportation fuels, right?
Yeah.
Pyrolysis of waste biomass can be converted into biofuels, right? Biochemicals are also being made rather than from traditional fossil fuels, right? So in the past, we had three different industries. You have your oil refinery, your oil sector, you've got the chemicals, and you got your agricultural industry. Oh, there's a fourth one. You got your waste management companies. So in the past, you got four very distinct sectors, right? Then gradually over the last 20 years or so, you saw oil and chemicals coming together very quickly. That was a very natural integration. But now, because of decarbonization, because of sustainability, operations, and all that, the bio industry is now getting into the transportation and the chemical space. And not only that, the waste management companies are getting involved in mechanical recycling, investing in chemical recycling. So they're going to turn all this into transportation fuels. They're going to turn all this into petrochemical products. So we see the four industries coming to one now. Yeah. So
Indeed.
bio is part of the entire equation.
Yeah. So I hope that has given you a fairly good idea.
Just quickly
Yeah.
on this one,
Yeah.
on this question, right?
Sure,
So I
sure.
think the another interesting aspect that has grown because of COVID now, right, is the facility design and maintenance. So you see
Oh, yes.
biocontainment areas and all. So now pretty much every manufacturing facility needs to have that, right? So
Yeah.
so again, biopharmaceutical, like it's very, very relevant.
Yeah.
And especially in the sustainability side of things, right? So it's more on greener processes, right? So everything, all these processes that were happening previously in the drug manufacturing or any other biopharmaceutical kind of process, how do you make it green, right? Less transportation, biofuels, and all of that. How do you make it work, right?
Yeah.
And then I think the other important, like really fun that we experienced in Thailand recently was feedstock itself, sustainable feedstock. So how can you use biopharmaceutical for like animal derived components itself, right? So make it more sustainable, long lasting as well, and greener again, right? So I think these are some of the new things that are happening, and of course, again, sustainability relevant as well.
Is
Some more
this
questions?
interesting question? Yeah, Mr. Larry, yes. Yeah.
No, I was asking whether any more questions.
Oh, yeah. So there's this interesting question. I think maybe each of you can take turns to answer. I'm sure you have already shared your experience in chemical engineering as in your career, but maybe what some of our students would like to know is how was your experience when you were in the department? And then is there anything that you wish you had known earlier? As in, I think that is more for your career. Like, is there anything that you wish you had known earlier when you were still studying? Yeah. So first thing is, how was your experience in the department like? And is there anything that you wish you could have known earlier? Larry, I think it's a long
I'll kick
time.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so when I was at NUS, it was a very different world and
Yes.
very different department. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure. This I was kind of hesitating. I wanted to let my younger colleagues talk
Yes.
first.
So probably Mr. Akib,
Yeah. I can share
you are
some.
the youngest.
Yeah.
Now I would
Some of the
want to hear
youngest.
from Mr. Larry first, right? So what did he have?
Well,
Go ahead.
during that time, the chemical engineering degree was very, very focused on chemical
Yes.
engineering.
Exactly.
That time, every academic year, there's just one non-chemical engineering subject,
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and one of the subjects which I actually enjoyed the most was contract law, right?
Oh,
Which we
wow.
did in
Okay.
final year. So and then years later, I found out why I had an interest, right? Because after that, I got involved in the commercial sector, where I had to draft, I had to vet through contracts, and I had to look at shipping contracts. And for some strange reason, I derived great joy from looking at shipping contracts, which is a very weird thing to happen, right? So I guess where I'm coming from is that when I was in NUS, I wish there was more diversity of topics beyond just engineering, which you guys now have, which is great, right? So I didn't have that. So when Mobile offered me a job before I graduated, you can't say no, right? I needed a salary, and Mighty Mobile then offer you a job. You don't say no to it, right? So never once did I explore and say, hey, do I think I like engineering? Would I prefer to be in the value chain services, or do I want to get involved in research? None of that existed. Right? Those were pre-internet days, so nobody knew any better. You graduate with a chemical engineering, a Shell or a Mobile or an Exxon comes to you, offers you a job, you just go into it. Right? So these days is different. You can actually find out about your inclinations or what is your passion, right? So yeah.
I can
Oh.
completely relate to that because I graduated from the same department in 2004. Yeah. So it's the same, similar to what Mr. Larry had. But of course, there was at least more diversity by then. We did have courses in programming, C programming, and all that, and accountancy. As you said, law. We still had law. Yeah, there was this module. But then it was still heavily chemical engineering based. But then what I saw once I started teaching more than 10 years ago is it has really evolved now. In fact, the latest curriculum that we have, I would say it's around 1/3 that is chemical engineering based, slightly over 1/3. Yeah. So that's
Wow.
because of the needs of the times. So it has indeed become very diverse in the experience that is offered to the students.
Yeah.
So I think Ms. Kunshan wants to share next. So we get
Yeah,
the youngest to do it last.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for myself, I actually feel that on hindsight, maybe my experience is a bit different. So because I was thinking that I enjoyed the specialization modules that I did, which is microelectronics. And it was really fun to study. I really enjoyed it. I even aced it, most of them. But after that, I think on hindsight, I realized that so going into the job, it's quite different from actually studying for those modules, because the job itself is more of the environment, because it's about being in a like like a plant, right, or a semiconductor, a wafer fab. So then the nature of it is like probably troubleshooting, dealing with machines, and then handling processors that have issues. And I guess then it made me realize that a job is not just about what I studied, but also about the environment and my personality, because I enjoyed, because as I look back in my academic life, I enjoyed the parts of interacting with people, with fellow students, doing project work, and meeting new people in different, maybe new modules and things like that. So it occurred to me that, oh, I didn't want to be based in a plant setup. I wanted to experience different things, being able to talk to people, make an impact beyond just the wafer fab. So yeah, I think on hindsight, but I would never have realized that without going into the wafer fab. So yeah, I think it's just something that on hindsight, it was something for me to have found out. But it was also a good growth opportunity to realize that that I didn't like something, and then eventually finding something that I enjoyed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah,
Yeah.
quickly, thank you. Yeah. So I think being the young, finally being
Yeah.
young as well in that sense. But yeah, again, I think I'll like, as Mr. Larry and Professor Suraj kind of mentioned, right? So we get this idea that, okay, university, and that's again, my education experience and all that, right? My passion kind of speaking over here. So our education systems have not upskilled themselves, right? They haven't been upgraded enough, I would say. So we always think, okay, now I'm going to NUS, chemical engineering. Professor Suraj knows how to manage this, right? So he will teach me what to do first semester, first to do second semester, third, fourth. So that's the pathway itself, right? But now we see, and again, to Gunvu's question, right? So it's a learn work model now. So work will change, learning will change appropriately, right? And that's where I think we need to be open that, okay, there's so many opportunities within NUS, within chemical engineering, within biomedical, within pharmaceutical as well, right? And that's where we need to be able to explore and be open to exploration, right? We tend to get scared of some of the things, and we're like, yeah, no, I don't want it, because like I was scared because I don't know, that's my persona. I think the best way is go sit in a lecture, right? Go sit in 2 lectures. And that's something that I figured out much later, that actually, like, nobody cares who's sitting in the lecture hall, right? You can just literally go in and start listening in, right? You can keep doing watching your movies and shows and all of that. That could still be a better background music than what you have, right? And that allows you to actually engage and understand, like, okay, there is a lot more to it as well.
Yeah.
And that's what I found out along the way, that, like, yes, there are these chemical engineering jobs, like as you mentioned, pharmaceutical or oil and gas, and these 3 or 4 careers. But then we're like, actually, not really, right? You can be a consultant, you can come at it from a different background altogether. You can look at it from a process angle. You can look at it from an AI angle, sustainability angle. There's so many things that you could do, and you can find your own niche and still make it relevant, right? And that's the world we live in today. It's all connected one way or the other. No matter which engineering you do, no matter which field of job you do, right? You will be connected to anything other than that as well. And that's where I would love for you to kind of explore these options. And I think at least today, there's a gazillion options connected. There's so many more modules connected. You don't have to make the decision right away as well, which is amazing as well now, right? You can go in, try out. If it works for you, good enough, take it. If not, okay, I do another module altogether, right? And that's the beauty, I think, that I found kind of much later as well, because I came in from a structure background. No, I've gone into an NUS system now. They will tell me what to do, and that's the best system already. And that essentially is not necessarily the case. All individuals are different. We have our own passions as well. If you like football, I love football. I played so much more than doing chemical engineering in general, right? But then I figured out, like, I'm learning a lot more about chemical engineering at the football field itself by engaging with talking to so many people in the field, in the industry and all, right? So all of that kind of makes it a good playground for us. And with Gen AI, no need to worry anyways. Like, if you don't understand what we are saying, put it on Gen AI. It will make you understand as if you're a 4-year-old, as if you're an 8-year-old, right? So you don't need to be scared of what the professors are talking about or teaching about. At least you get excited about it. Then you, as soon as the mind opens, you're like, wow, okay, actually I understand all of this. I want to be doing this. So I think that's something that's very critical, that I would say, like, okay, yeah, I wish I would have known that, okay, we could do that. And now in today's world, you can do that anyways with much more ease.
Yeah, indeed. That's very well put. In fact, on a related note, that's something which our students can get to do as well. Even as part of the courses or the modules that they're going to take, because for 10 courses, they are actually free to choose anything that they want to take that is offered by the university. So that is where you can actually plan whether you want to do a minor, let's say in computing, which is very popular these days, or you want to do a second major, or you just want to pursue some of our specializations like biopharmaceutical engineering, or if you just want to take languages. In fact, languages are very popular these days. We have our graduates who go on for further studies in Germany and so on. So they do take languages as well, minor in languages, or just courses in different languages, like Korean is also very popular these days. So that's something which you can plan as part of your curriculum itself over the 4 years, and then pursue your own interests rather than just focusing just on chemical engineering. So that's the freedom that the program gives you now. These 10 courses, you are free to choose anything you want. Yeah, I think it's already 8:03 now. So I did see there was a question which Mr. Larry has very nicely answered. I really like your reply. So there was a question, is chemical engineering challenging? As I was a biomedical engineering student in Poly. So the answer is indeed, yeah. In fact, I would say any program that you go into is challenging. So it's not that any degree, you don't get it very easily. Whatever program it is, yeah. Maybe I think let's
just one point on that, right?
Yeah.
So if it's not challenging, you're not learning. Very
You're not
simply
learning,
put.
of course. Yes,
You didn't
yes.
learn anything new then.
Yeah. Let's see what, it's in the chat, is from Mr. Akil. Okay, sure. So I think this was very good session, and hope you get a good idea. I think some of the common questions which all of you will have is like, what are some of the skills that you learn in university, which it helps you in your career? What are some of the what will be the demand for chemical engineers like in the future? So I think this session has helped you get insights into such questions as well, which you might have. Some of the skills that you learn always stays with you, and you never know when you might have to use it in the future. Even 30, 40 years later. Yeah. And secondly, you see that chemical engineers, we are in demand, and that is never going to go down in the near future. So I think with that, it might be a good time to wrap up this session. I think Ms. Sam Kunshan, do you want to add on anything? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very glad that everyone is considering chemical engineering, and you'll be assured that you have strong alumni that will be able to support and help to guide your career growth in the future when you've graduated from the program. And also while you're studying, you have great faculty members who work closely with us to curate programs for you, like webinars and career talks and things like that, to help you all navigate through your academic life in NUS. So look forward to having you all in the course.
Thank you. Any parting words from Mr. Akib?
Yeah, I would say just have fun, right? I think that's the most important part of it. So have fun while learning and figure out where do you have more fun, which particular modules are giving you actually more fun, because that's literally where you're going ahead with.
And last but not the least, Mr. Larry. Yeah.
I would say while I work, one of the things very important is nobody can expect anyone to know everything. So that's a given. So if you don't know, just say you don't know. But I think what's more important in life is to be able to ask the right questions, and don't be afraid to articulate an opinion, right? So to say, so I think it's this, but I don't have the background, right? Just like earlier, somebody asked me about biopharmaceutical, which I know very little about. So I kind of preface my comments to say, look, I'm no expert in this, but this is what I think, right? So I think it's important to be able to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
Because I think, as someone famously said, you must know what you don't know, right? If you don't know what you don't know, then that's even a bigger problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Right. Thank you so much. And yeah, I've shared my email address in the chat. So if any of you has any further questions, feel free to write into me as well.